bias. The assumptions we make, the perspectives we carry, and how they shape the way we see other people and the world around us. But instead of trying to point fingers or say what's right or wrong, this space is about slowing things down, about having honest conversations, sharing real experiences, and trying to understand what lies beneath those first impressions. So whether you're here to reflect, to challenge your own perspective, or just to listen, you are welcome here. This is Beneath Bias, unveiling one story at a time.
Welcome back to another episode of Beneath Bias. Last time you heard from one of DDRN's longtime foreign correspondents, William Odinga. We really enjoyed William's episode, and we hope you did too. This week we have yet another specially produced episode by another one of DDRN's foreign correspondents. This time you'll be hearing from Marta Apablaza, who's tuning in from Chile to present her investigation into Chile's unconventional art scene. She interviews artist Noah Bliazi about his background and how his unique approach to promoting his work is having the effect of making art more accessible. A quick note about this interview. While Marta did sit down and have a conversation with Noah Bliazi, the original interview was in Spanish, and therefore she opted to have his responses translated and presented by an AI-generated voice for the purposes of this episode. Rest assured, however, all the answers are genuinely his, and the translation is verified by native Spanish speakers. Stick around to the end of the episode to hear a very special announcement about what's coming down the line for the show. Now, with that being said, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode.
What happens when an artist stops waiting for gallery validation and decides to build their own circuit? I'm Marta Apablaza Riquelme, and in this episode of Beneath Bias, I invite you to join me in Puente Alto to meet Fernando Peñaloza, known as Noah Bliazi, a painter who transforms the street culture of Santiago, Chile's most populous district, into a body of work that challenges not only the boundaries between art and the periphery, but also traditional ways of producing, exhibiting, and distributing art. The narrow streets of a working-class Latin American neighborhood. Tony Soprano smoking a cigar by his pool. Cory Bradshaw walking alone through New York City. Young men in black hoodies posing like gangsters. Two horses advance between tombstones that seem to be melting. These are some of the images that make up the visual universe of Fernando Peñaloza, better known as Noah Bliazi, an artist from Puente Alto, Santiago de Chile, who worked with water, latex, acrylic, and oil on canvas to construct an iconography where film, television, rap, and the everyday experience of the periphery coexist. He has a paint splatter tattooed on his temple. He has a short hair and a serene yet defiant gaze. His paintings are populated by rappers, graffiti artists, and young men in baggy pants and thick gold chains. Figures who rarely occupy a place in traditional galleries, but who in his painting acquire the dignity and prominence of any classic portrait. Over the past few years, Noah Bliazi has become an increasingly recognized figure within the Chilean art scene. This is not only due to the aesthetic power and technical precision of his work, but also because he has chosen to question the way art is produced, circulated, and sold. Instead of waiting for validation from galleries or museums, he has built his own exhibition and distribution space from Puente Alto, challenging a historical centralized system.
I believe that art or culture, even though it originates from a very personal place, still has a role to reach people and connect with them. I paint because it makes me feel good, because I think it's one of the few things I do really well, but also because I want my work to have a dialogue with those who look at it.
From graffiti to canvas, from urban art to Renaissance painting, Noah seems to speak both languages with equal ease. He painted his first graffiti as a teenager. Today, he defines himself as a student of Italian and Spanish Renaissance painting.
I love technique wherever it comes from. I work with watercolors, acrylics, and various other materials. I finish with oils, but I'm always studying how the old masters solved painting problems.
His interest in classical painting was born during his years as an art student at Diego Portales University.
A teacher always told me to go to the library.
The advice eventually became an obsession. Today, Noah collects art books and spends hours studying masters like Caravaggio. In 2022, he set himself a radical challenge: to paint 30 works using the technique of Renaissance painters to understand through practice how they resolve composition, light, and color. But more than copying a technique, he sought to understand a way of seeing the world. Regarding one of the works that marked that process, he recalls:
I painted it during a very sad time in my life. It took me a long time to finish it because I was going through a very difficult period. I feel that with that painting, a portal opened up to other things I wanted to do within painting. I think it was the first work I painted in a much more intelligent way. Until then, I worked impulsively. I painted quickly and without thinking too much about each decision. With this work, I was much more strategic. I feel that from that painting onwards, I began to think much more about how to resolve each part of a work.
Although Noah studies Europeans master closely, his main influence comes from Chilean rap and trap rather than the visual arts. Among the artists who have most influenced his work are the Chilean rapper Matias Chinaski, whom he considers his greatest role model, and Pablo Chile, whose lyrics and a way of narrating the reality of working-class neighborhood have profoundly influenced his understanding of art. His purpose, he explained, has never been paint solely for the technical virtuosity.
I am interested in painting images that my friends, my loved ones, and the people I grew up with can identify with and appreciate art.
There came a point when Noah began to wonder if the problem wasn't his painting but the system surrounding it. During an artist's residency, he painted 65 canvases in 6 months. However, at the end of the exhibition, the gallery only managed to sell one piece. After half a year of work, he received a mere $125. It was then that he concluded the art world didn't work. At that time, he was living in Puente Alto and hanging out with friends who dealt drugs.
I was always with them and saw how they sold things. Then I thought, what if I sell paintings as if I were trafficking?
Thus was born Paint by the Gram, a project that sought to question the way art is marketed and, at the same time, bring it closer to people who will not normally buy a work of art.
My idea was that an ordinary person, someone who doesn't normally spend money on art, could buy them, but I also wanted to be able to buy 5 at once if a collector came along.
The strategy also broke with the traditional codes of the art world. A fan of mafia movie and the series Breaking Bad, Noah produced a video for social media inspired by one of these most iconic scenes, the montage showing the process of preparing and packaging the drugs. Each of the small paintings cost $25. He posted the video along with the artwork on social media. 30 minutes later, he had sold nearly $1,000. For Noah, the experiment confirmed a thought that has been on his mind for some time.
That confirmed for me that the problem isn't that people don't want to buy art. The problem is how the system works, which often means that the artist doesn't earn money.
Although he spent much of his time in his studio, Noah sees his artist's work as something broader than simply producing paintings. In addition to painting, he has published the books Still the Sky and Cashier on the Moon. He also dedicates a significant portion of his time to teaching, convinced that knowledge only becomes meaningful when it's shared.
I have to learn to communicate certain ideas, and for that, I often have to study myself before transmitting them.
His curiosity continues to be the driving force behind his work.
I've always been driven by curiosity to see how far painting can take me, and I've realized that without seeking it, without saying I want to do this or I want to achieve that, things have just happened. Painting has taken me to incredible places. I'm going to keep painting and doing my best work. And wherever God wants me to be, that's where I'll be.
Since June 2026, Noah Bliazi's paintings have been on free displays at the Puente Alto Cultural Center, in the municipality where he was born and raised. The exhibition, titled The Best I Can, brings together scenes of popular culture, memory, and daily life from his hometown. For Noah, painting has never been just a job. It's a way of understanding the world, and also a way of finding his place in it.
Art gave me a way to position myself in relation to others and to society. If I hadn't painted, I honestly don't know what I would have done with my life.
That concludes our series of specially produced episodes by DDRN correspondents, and from now on you'll be returning to our more regular scheduled programming with our regular hosts who I'm sure are missing the mics. Now, a quick announcement: on the 27th of August, Beneath Bias will be hosting our second live show. This time it's at Kvarterhuset at 6 p.m. in Copenhagen. As those who attended our last live show know, this event I'm sure will be full of some interesting discussion, audience participation, and of course we'll also have some tasty refreshments. So if you're in the Copenhagen area, please come down and join us if you can. The event is totally free. You just need to register on the event sign up. The link for that is in the show notes. So that's all from us for now. Until next time, this has been DDRN Presents Beneath Bias, unveiling one story at a time.